Hi everyone. I kept thinking that I was going to be back soon with another topic, and now it appears a couple weeks have gone by. But it seems that I have been continuing on the theme of freedom. What is freedom? And last week, in fact, I was at the beach and I decided to speak about it a little further. Now that video is not so good in quality, but I still think it is worth listening to. It's got a lot of wind background noise, but I think it's kind of okay. So I want to share that with you first, and then I'll talk about a couple of other things that have also come up past that. So here we go. Today I am in Lincoln City. I'm at Whistledown Bay, and I guess I'm not quite finished with the conversation with the question of what is freedom. So I wanted to share some thoughts that I've been having recently, and that I'd share the scenery here where I'm at rather than speaking to you directly. So, and I don't know if the wind or anything is going to interrupt this, whether we'll have to do it again. But I'll try to show you more as I go here. And hopefully I can do it correctly. It's not so abrupt. The thought that was coming up with the question of freedom was about the fact that we do have choices every day, and whether we choose to empower ourselves with those choices, or whether we give our power away by letting other people make choices for us. And the way that it was showing up for me was particularly when we rely on professionals to answer our questions. And I think professionals are good. Obviously, they tend to know more than we do. And yet, I don't think when we consult professionals, we should take for granted that they do, in fact, know what they're talking about, do, in fact, have our best interest at heart, or do, in fact, whatever they are suggesting our path should be, whether that is actually right for us. So, for instance, I was talking to someone about their path in medicine and the traditional allopathic path versus the path that I have chosen, which is within the alternative realm and naturopathic care. And my feeling is that when you go to a doctor, allopathic doctor, they prescribe a prescription, and you might not really think about or question whether that prescription is right for you. You've kind of given away your power to the prescription, and not perhaps digging deeper into what it will really do to your body, or try to sense into what it will do to your body and whether you should actually take that or not for yourself. on the other hand, as I engaged recently with a naturopathic doctor, and she was making suggestions, what happened for me was that I resisted at first. My stubbornness came up, and I didn't want to do anything, I think, at first. I wanted to believe that I was healthy and that I didn't need to make a change in my life. So that was one thing. But the other was that of the things that were suggested, they were suggestions that what might help, and that we would work together as a kind of team to decide, what were the right things, the right choices for myself. And I had to remember that I had the choices. I could choose not to do anything, which might be detrimental to my health. I could choose this or that sort of remedy. And always we have the choice about, or at least for what's available, the choices of what we might eat. So that's how it initially came about. But I was feeling like I wanted to express more about our freedoms, and that empowering ourselves to make choices, even in the face of professionals, is important to the core of having freedom. Not just giving out over our power to someone else. Some things work for some people, and other things work for others. So that one suggested path is not better than another. And what's coming up right now is, when we get second opinions, when we don't feel good about something. But I think it can be ingrained in some people that you should that you should kind of give your power over to someone else who you think knows better. But what about sensing into how we can decide what's better for us, even in those fields that we think of more often as that we should do what the doctor says, or we might die. It becomes a very important thing to us. Most of us don't want to die, and so we give our power over to somebody who we trust in, without sensing whether in our bodies, or not taking note of those senses when we think something might be not quite right for us to follow. So that's one topic that I've been kind of mulling over as I'm thinking about our freedoms. And another one that's come up recently, like just within the last couple of days, which I think is similar, is to be standing up for ourselves and our choices, rather than being in a group and kind of following the group and wanting to maybe pacify another, because we think that that's the right socially accepted thing to do, but more to have self-respect for ourselves as we make our choices, to stop just behaving in a way that promotes a socially acceptable way of being. But saying, just for instance, no, I don't want to go to breakfast right now. I would rather take my time during the day and then go to breakfast. Your schedule doesn't quite fit mine. So, I'm just suggesting another aspect of utilizing our freedom and kind of noticing that there's some kind of shift happening right now where I'm seeing people speak up and speak for themselves and not just be kind so much to others that we're not kind to ourselves at the same time. And then we wonder why there are frustrations coming out over the top, either in huge ways or in erratic ways, or I don't know, whatever kind of different ways than what you might expect the frustrations to come out, other than what's right there in the moment, or maybe even to who is right there in the moment, or what, like our whole community of people, that sometimes you can't directly speak your mind to someone about a frustration, and therefore it comes out to another in a different way, in an abrupt way. So maybe it's a time of finding out how we can respect ourselves enough to also respect others. And with that last thought, I think that's what I wanted to say. So, being back from that video, I also wanted to share a card that kept coming up for me. Like, I drew it a couple of times in the last week or so. The card that I'm showing on your screen now, but I'm going to put in front of my face. Spiritual evolution. Set your heart free. So this is really towards speaking your own truth from your heart and not your mind. The mind that evolved through your upbringing and all of your experiences, and can cause you to be hesitant in situations where you might have instead opened your heart to it and delved into it. When there's trauma that occurs, the brain has ways of protecting you, or trying to protect you from not experiencing those difficult times again. So it's a defense mechanism that is kind of overriding what might be true for the moment, what might be true for your heart right now. And I thought it was interesting that this card has this explosive part in the sky, like the sun coming through. And coincidentally, as I was in my Kundalini yoga class last night, and it's an online class, and so I had my computer set up in front of me, and the sun was somehow shining through and creating this the very similar effect, and I'll show that to you on the screen now too. So it seems like there are these three instances: the pulling of the card twice, and then the sun coming through to call my attention again to it. And so I think there is some meat that is trying to be shown about setting the heart free. I shared this card with another person, and what came up from him was that it's hard to have freedom when there are artificially created wants. And what I think he meant by that was that our culture kind of defines things for us. That we want to strive to have the most money, the best job, the house, the wife, the kids, the car, you name it, all the things that we buy and do in our world. But they're often predicated by what's already in the culture and ingrained, and maybe what our families did, and maybe what our friends do, or whatever that influences us, versus us really checking in with ourselves and making a choice in the moment. And what choice we made 5-10 years ago might not be a good choice for us anymore. But there's probably many ways where things are in the way that we're not realizing are in the way of the choices that we could make. Choices that aren't being a cause for not being able to do them. So, although we may have choices every day, some of them we just don't choose. Some of them we don't choose because of our traumatic experiences. Some we don't choose because the culture says it's a bad thing to choose. And then the choices that we do make, on the other hand, are they choices that are coming from our heart and really make us feel good? Or are we just following the pack? Or have some fear about what will happen if we choose to do that? So I think those are things to continue thinking about as I apparently continue to need to talk about freedom. Thanks again for joining me, and we'll see what happens next. Thank you. Bye.